lovelies, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, what's up? My name's Courtney Marie and welcome. Lovely to have you. Today's video is going to be a very difficult one for me. We're going to be going through my collection. This is a kind of tag video, I think, or a video that's been going around basically saying if you could only keep 10 eyeshadow palettes, if all the makeup in your collection, like all the eyeshadows in your collection disappeared, you could only keep 10, what would they be? If you guys don't know, I'm an eyeshadow palette fanatic. I have like 150 palettes, I think. Probably a little bit less now. I actually decluttered a lot of palettes. So I think at the moment I probably got it down to maybe under 100, maybe like 90. Still, ridiculous amount of palettes for one person to have. But nonetheless, we're here, we're queer, and we're gonna narrow down my palettes to 10 that I would keep, which is gonna be really difficult. So I'm actually gonna bring you along for the journey. I know most people just sit here and hold up what 10 they've chosen, but I wanna kind of bring you through the thought process. I did just see Cindy Lou Bindi post this video, and I've been meaning to film this for so long. I watched hers earlier today and I was like, that's it, I'm finally gonna film this video, because I've been procrastinating because I know that it would just be so hard for me to even think about what palettes I would keep like above everything else in my collection. So let's get into it. Let's have a really intense thought process, go through all the palettes I have and pick 10 that we're gonna keep. 10 is still a lot of palettes. Like for a normal person, 10 palettes is a lot to have, but for me, that's not enough variety. But okay, let's get in. So I want to bring you guys along. These are my palette drawers. We've got this one, and then there is another one down here. So let's have a look. I'm just going to pull some palettes out that I can kind of think that I might want to keep in my life. And then we will go through them and kind of decipher what we need and what we don't need. This is what I've pulled out of my first drawer so far. You guys know this palette most definitely will be in my final top 10. This is one of my favorite palettes. I love just doing a warm tone eye with a pop of blue and green. I love this palette. I love Clara Cosmetics. Yeah, I would never ever let go of this palette. So at least one of the Clara palettes is going to be in the top 10, maybe more depending, but definitely that one. This Life's a Drag palette, really good option. I'm going to keep this as a contender. You've got some really nice neutrals, two really standout shimmers, and then a pop of color. Definitely going to keep that as an option. This palette by Mellow, this is one of my favorite formulas. The mattes and shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful, but it is kind of a neutral warm tone with a pop of blue. So I'm sure we can find a dupe, so that's going to go in the maybe pile. This one from Lime Crime I really like, Venus XL. It is a beautiful kind of berry pinky warm tone palette, but I'm not sure if I need it, because I might keep a Jeffree Star palette that has some of these shades in here. So we will say no to this one. Really good palette though, definitely love it. I've got the Ace Beauté palettes. I've got 3. There's like the purple one, the pink one, and this one. I definitely don't need this one. The pink one I love. I absolutely love this. I'm going to put these in the maybe pile because I don't know if I can part ways with them. This Chasing Rainbows, I thought it was a good idea because it has a bunch of mattes in here from all different colors. You've got like peachy mattes, mauve mattes, cool toned, shimmers, not shimmers, bright colors, etc. But I think that's going to be a no. This palette by Be Perfect, this is the Carnival palette, Stacey Marie. This is what she looks like. Mine's actually cracked. It cracked not that long ago. I have taped it so it can't like it can't fall out. I did inspect this like meticulously to make sure there's no glass missing or in my shadows, but I wouldn't recommend keeping palettes that have shattered mirrors. I really like this palette in terms of color story, but formula is not my favorite, so I might put that in the maybe pile as well. I do want to get the Makeup by Jar palette, or maybe the XL version of this, because apparently the formula is like really good. Everyone's hyping them up at the moment, so if you want to see me review those, let me know. All right, we have 3 with kind of similar color stories. We have the Gemini, which is those grungy greens and like oranges. Colored Rain, Safari Rain. Also, you have some of those grungy shades. The shimmers in this one are like out of this world. And then I was kind of thinking the best of both worlds with that would be this Morphe palette, because this has like your purples, greens, oranges, all of the grunge. I don't use this enough because it's just so big and I'm not a fan of larger palettes. But in terms of like variety and what I would want to keep, because the colors in here are beautiful and the formula is beautiful. You've got burgundies, purples, oranges, and so many greens. Definitely, I think that's going to make it into our little pile. So we've got 3 palettes so far. Let's keep diving into these drawers and pull out some more palettes. All right, so I've pulled out quite a few palettes now that I want to go through and kind of see. So first of all, a palette that I'm definitely keeping. This is a ColourPop palette that I created myself. And I love this. I think it just has everything that I need in it. It's beautiful and I'm definitely going to keep that. So, all right, let's deep dive into here. The Carly Bybel palette is newish to my collection. It's one of the newer palettes, but I really like the color story. I think it's really good. There's some really good quality shades in here. It is really messy for some reason, but I do really like these. So that's gonna go in my maybe pile. I really like the Jeffree Star Morphe palette. The quality of this is really, really good. I don't like the pressed glitter, but other than that, I really like this. In saying that though, it's pink and green, which I've got a lot of, so this is gonna go in the maybe pile. The Beauty Killer palette I really like, but I only kind of wear this half of the palette, so I do think that's gonna be a no. It really pains me because this is very sentimental, but we're thinking practical. All right, Jawbreaker. I think I will definitely keep Jawbreaker. I love a bit of color in my life, and this has a lot of it. It really has anything that I would need in terms of color, so I don't think I'll need to keep many other colorful palettes. So keeping Jawbreaker. Thought these would be a good idea to keep because you've got like matte brights and shimmer brights, but because of the Jawbreaker, I don't think that they would be needed in our 10 palette collection. Same with the Festival palette. I really like this from BH, but I don't think we need it. Okay, let's get into some difficult decisions. Blood Sugar I really like. You have some really pretty warm tone shades, like really, really warm. I don't know if we've kept anything that has those like really, really warm tone shades. There's a couple in my palette that I made. I guess there's a couple, not really, no. Jawbreaker has a few of these kind of ready colors. you've got some really bright pops. Blue Blood as well is one that really hurts my soul. If I'm being really honest, in Blue Blood, I mostly reach for these two colors here and this shade and these two colors. That's really it. So if we look back at Jawbreaker, there's a mint shade here and here. This shimmer, it's not really what I wanted from Blue Blood, but I don't need to keep Blue Blood for one color, so that can go. All right, Blood Sugar is gonna stay open whilst I look at some other palettes that I might want to keep. This Urban Decay Naked Cherry is new to my collection, but I love it. I've worn it like literally every day since I got it, and I really like it. But I don't think I need to keep it if I have Blood Sugar. I don't know. I don't know, I'm really attached to this at the moment. Let's put that in the maybe pile. Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. No, don't feel like I need to keep that. Huda Beauty Nudes. No. Huda Beauty Rose Gold. I don't know. Alright, this is what I've got so far. There is a lot of colour going on here. So I think we need some neutrals injected. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so So after much deliberation, chopping and changing, swapping things out, I have finally come up with 10 palettes that if everything was to disappear out of my collection and I could only keep 10 eyeshadow palettes, this is what I would keep. Now, the first one that I'm going to start with is a little bit of, I guess, cheating in a way, because this is a custom palette. So this is from Colourpop. This is one of their build your own palettes. I made this myself in terms of I picked all the colors to put in it and I arranged them how I saw fit. So this is what the colors look like. I have done a video on this palette as well, swatching every single shade, but I just really like this because I kind of tried to pick a matte and a shimmer that would either match or go together and complement each other really well. So I've got like a really neutral matte, neutral shimmer, a yellow matte, a yellow shimmer, so on and so forth. So I think what this palette is lacking is some cool tone neutrals and some really just like neutrals that aren't really cool or warm, just kind of flat. Because I've got a really warm row and then pops of color pretty much, which is what I like to wear personally. I'll either go really warm with a pop of color, or I'll do like an all pink eye, an all purple eye, or an all blue eye kind of thing, you know, like what I've got on today. So this is kind of lacking some cool tone shimmers and mattes and just some really neutral kind of things. So this is my first palette that I would keep, and I definitely think like if you said to me, you know, we've got to go somewhere right now and you've got to do your makeup and you have to bring it with, quick pick a palette, you have no time to think, like what are you gonna grab? I would grab this, definitely. So where the Colourpop palette kind of falls short, this definitely makes up. This is the Sultry palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is a pretty much cool tone eyeshadow palette. It has basically all cool tone colors with a pop of coral. The shimmer Cyborg is definitely my favorite. I love doing a kind of really dark smoky eye, kind of putting Fresh all over my eye, Slate through the crease, Noir really concentrated on the outer corner, and Cyborg all over the lid, and it is just the most beautiful look ever. I love this palette. The shimmers in here are the best that ABH has ever done in my opinion, and I would not go anywhere without this palette. Like literally, if my house was on fire, I would be grabbing this palette and running. I absolutely love it, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's really luxe. I keep it in its box. I just love it. It's one of my favorite palettes of all time, which is why I definitely wouldn't get rid of it if I could only keep 10 palettes. Alright, we have Life's a Drag. This is a really good palette. I really like the formula. It's one of my favorite formulas. You've got some really neutral mattes in here. These really aren't that warm or cool. They're kind of neutral, which is why I like them. You have some two standout shimmers, really pretty colors, and then you have some really nice pops. So you can pick this up and you can do an all neutral look, you can do a really colorful look, or you can do a neutral with a pop of color, and I really like that. You can do an all matte look, or you can use one of those two shimmers. A lot of people didn't like the shimmer to matte ratio in here. I think for what the palette is, it definitely works, especially because it is kind of marketed as a drag palette, and drag queens predominantly use mattes and then they use like a shimmer on their lid. So you have the two shimmers, and yeah, I really like this palette. It kind of sparked my love for Lunar Beauty, and I have two other of his palettes now as well, so I really like this palette. Next we have the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. I was really surprised that I chose to keep this because I haven't had it for very long. The mattes in here perform absolutely amazingly. These shimmers are a really unique kind of texture and finish, which I think is why I chose to keep this palette in my collection. They're very glittery. There are a few different formulas within the palette itself, but they're very like iridescent-y, glittery kind of finishes, and I don't really have anything else like them, which is, I think, a big reason why I chose to keep this palette. It also has some beautiful purpley kind of colors, some peachy colors, some blues, pops of colors. Like, yeah, I really like this palette, and the mattes are one of the best formulas that I've ever tried, and I really like creating looks with it. So I'm really surprised because it's so new, but at the same time the quality is impeccable, and it would want to be because the price of this is expensive. Alright, we have this palette from Morphe. This is the 35M palette. Now, the reason I chose this is because there was a few Morphe palettes I had in mind that I've really have been gravitating towards, and they're kind of this palette but split in half. You have a green and orange palette and then a purple palette from Morphe. And I was like, well, if I keep both of them, it's going to take up two spaces, where I can just keep this and it's got everything that I really need. It's got all the grungy colors, it's got the oranges, it's got the purples. I also really wanted to keep the Melt Gemini palette, which is just kind of those green colors, but this has a whole lot more. When I first got this palette, I absolutely loved it. I used it all the time. It is a little bit unloved because of the size. It's so big, I kind of forget that it exists. But the quality of these shades are impeccable, and I would be so happy to keep this in my collection above many other palettes if I had to downsize to just 10. A palette that you would probably have to pry from my cold dead hands is the Jawbreaker palette. I absolutely love this. This is one of the most versatile palettes that I have in my collection. It's not just a colorful palette. You have some beautiful pastels, and then you have some like pops of color. If you really look at this palette, you've got some really lovely pastels, and then down here you have some really like primary kind of colors going on. You've got a really primary green. Is green a primary color? No. It's yellow, blue, and red. Don't quote me. It's been a long time since I've been in school. But yeah, you got some really beautiful pastels, and then like standard colors. You've got a standard green, a standard blue, a standard like reddy toned color. They're also beautiful. They all work together. It doesn't matter what shade you use in here, your look is going to turn out really fun, really colorful. The formula is amazing. The shimmers are amazing. I love this palette. It's so versatile, and I really think if you're considering getting it, definitely pick it up, because you can just create a plethora of looks with this palette, and you'll never get bored. It's not just a standard rainbow palette where you go from like green to yellow to whatever. It's all kind of all over the place, and it really makes you think about what colors you want to use. And yeah, it's just so fun. It literally, like the color scheme of a Jawbreaker, that's what the palette looks like because that's what it's themed after, and it's just so much fun to work with. I love it. Palettes that really surprised me that made it into this kind of 10 palettes. First is this palette from Mellow. I haven't used this enough. When I first got it, I literally like just died over it because the shimmers are impeccable. Even the mattes, like literally one swipe, one swipe, one swipe, one swipe. This is one swipe shimmers. Like most of the time when I swatch, I do a little swirl. That was just one swipe. The mattes are also equally impeccable, and I've been thoroughly impressed and loved this palette every time I've used it. It's just amazing for a neutral, warm-ish kind of look. In saying that, I did not think about this at all when I was kind of tossing with the idea of filming this video. I was kind of thinking about what palettes I like. This didn't come up at all. But going through my drawers and really thinking about the formula of things and the palettes that I already had and how much color I had injected into this kind of 10 palette capsule, I really lacked some neutrals, and this formula is too good to pass up. So definitely check out Mellow if you haven't already. Next is the Urban Decay Naked Cherry. Now this is kind of a wild card. I really don't think I needed this in my little countdown because it's really basic in terms of colors. It's just like a really soft cherry colors. But I love this. It's kind of new to my collection, but since I've had it, I have not put it down. Even my look today, like I could have done something very similar with the cherry. I've literally worn purple colors on my eyes non-stop lately, and this, I just love it. So my final two palettes are two from Clara Cosmetics. One of them you will not be surprised at all. The other one, kind of. So we have the Bondi palette from Clara. You guys know I live and breathe this palette. I've actually hit pan on it, and I'm so like proud and sad at the same time because I love this palette so much that I don't want to run out of it. But at the same time, like, I cannot remember, other than like using a product as a highlight. Like I had a Carly Bybel palette that I used the highlighters, and I hit pan on those. I've hit pan on face powders, I've hit pan on that kind of stuff. But an eyeshadow, I don't think I've ever hit pan on before. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm just so happy and sad and proud of myself, and this palette I absolutely adore. The final palette is the Shanghai palette from Clara. This is my newest Clara palette, and I love it. It is so soft. It's not overpowering. You can do a really like warm tone look. You can do a pop of purple look. It is beautiful. I love it. In my 10 kind of capsule palettes, I was really missing some neutrals, and this has some beautiful warm-ish kind of neutrals, but they're also really soft. This is my newest Clara palette. I love it. I love Clara, honestly. Like, I did have a tutorial of this, but for some reason the audio was glitched, so I'm gonna have to refilm that tutorial and get that up for you. If I could include all of my Clara palettes, I would have, but yeah, that would have been a really boring video for you guys, and I wouldn't have had any variety. But I love their formula. It's not like the most pigmented formula ever. It's not your Instagram one swipe matte kind of formula, but it's buildable. It's perfect for any skill level, beginners, like professionals. What am I trying to say? Beginners, intermediate, like, you know, makeup lovers, anyone out there. I really recommend these palettes. I will link this website. I'm not sponsored at all. I just really love these palettes, and I've put so many people onto them. The packaging's beautiful. Like, honestly, any of these palettes from this video, it's like my own personal opinion, and they're just lovely palettes to work with, so that's why they're here. I will open these palettes up and take a quick little snapshot of what my overall color, like the colors I have to work with, are. If you want to see videos with any of these palettes at all, let me know. I really enjoyed this video actually. It really made me think about my collection and maybe what I can get rid of and what I'm not really enjoying. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!